stay fly, stay fly.
Right.
Stay fly.
Forced migration. The slaves were better off working on plantations than they would have been otherwise. All types of ridiculous foolishness. Like we didn't have our own empires, kingdoms, education, schools in Africa. But okay, we were educated when we were kidnapped. But okay, so how do we not only educate our kids, but all kids with the truth?
How about it? You're listening to The Fly Guy Show. They do everything on the fly and in such a fly manner. Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
All that party. The views expressed by the guests are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree, unless explicitly stated.
Hey, this is Ernie Thomas here on the Bold School Podcast. You're listening to Psycho Vonner's Fly Guy Podcast. Support, like, subscribe, and share. He's saying some good things. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself.
And I'm waiting. And we're live. Hey, it's your man DJ Seiko Vonner back with another episode of the Fly Guys Show, the Fly Guys Podcast. We in this show we discuss practical consciousness from a lot of various perspectives. Disclaimer, we're not stupid. We use the term black and we don't think we're talking particularly about someone's proper skin color. We're not talking about a nation called black, a city called black, a state or planet called black. We're not talking about nationality and legal status, and we're not talking about a crayon color, nor do we think we're adjectives. So all that level one wokeness, we don't deal with that. All right, so today we have Queen Mother Shay in the house, and we're going to discuss they schools. And actually, Shay is going to be the host. I'm about to let go of the host chair, and give it to Queen Mother Shay. So Queen Mother Shay, what's good?
Nothing much. Starting off this new year right, with the right mindset.
We're going to start this year
yeah,
off right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, education is what we do. So what I do, and hey, welcome to the party, Sir Eddie.
How are you?
How are you,
Sir Eddie?
I'm well. Well, you know, I need to change that.
Sir Eddie Kane. So yeah, so the topic for tonight is they schools can't teach us, which is basically a rip from Dead Prez. They had a line in one of their songs that said, "They schools can't teach us bleep. We need freedom. We need all that we can get." So the bleep rhyme with get. So you understand what they're talking about. I'm not going to repeat the rest of it, but the concept that schools that were not created by us don't necessarily work for us. And you know what? I stepped into the leadership chair again. I got to give the leadership chair to Queen Mother Shay. So what's good, Shay? Take it from here, baby.
So right now, let's talk about education the way it is. The majority, like 80 to 90% of all American citizens go through public education, right? So starting pre-K or kindergarten, you go and you start learning, right? So question is, what are we learning, why, and who are we learning it for, right? So what's one of the first things you learn when you go to school?
Sit in place.
How to make a straight line. And how to
be quiet.
Be quiet.
To be quiet?
To be compliant.
To follow the rules. You're right.
And not only that, but
to do the question. Well, they kind of teach you the question, but only question in context.
Question when you're given the opportunity to question.
Speak when spoken to.
Yeah. Do you know that one of the major discipline actions against students is insubordination?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so if you think about what insubordination means, it really just means you didn't do what I told you to do, right?
Pretty much.
Our most disciplined students are Black males.
Absolutely, they are.
Absolutely. So I didn't when I think about what I learned, I think I was a pretty easy student. And so I didn't really have to be told much of, except for the talking. I talked a whole lot and I just kept talking. But I didn't have I wasn't the student to talk back I was too busy not doing anything but reading. Sister Star is here.
Hey, y'all.
Queen Star.
Yes.
Welcome. We were talking about what we learn in school when we first start school. So the guys were saying that you learn to follow the rules, draw straight lines, not talk out of turn, things like that. What are some of the first things you learned in school?
Interesting. Let me see. When I started school, I was at a predominantly white Episcopalian school in Gadsden, Alabama. I guess I learned that I was pro-Black at a very young age. I don't know, but with that said, I feel like in school itself, just the learning component, I had a good foundation for that aspect. If we start talking about the socialization and all of that, so I'm kind of coming in. I don't know where y'all were going with that. That's a whole nother path. But I enjoyed school and home. I had a foundation at home prior to going to school. I had a strong foundation. My granny had me reading at 3. So, yeah.
So you were well prepared.
I was. Care of Granny Ruth. Yes.
Yeah, come on, Granny. I'm here for it.
Salute, Granny.
Yeah. And I feel you. Like, I guess I got my foundation at home. So by the time I got to school, even when I went to school, like my first experience in school was an all-Black preschool. That's oddly enough, that was run by the church I now attend. I wasn't ever there. My mother just happened to know that this school existed because it was down the street from where she worked, and she could drop me off and she knew that the church was good.
And to clarify, Eddie, you're in PG County, right?
No, I'm in the District of Columbia.
Okay, DC.
Yeah.
Why did I think your church was the?
Well, we've moved to PG.
Okay.
Yeah, we've moved to Prince George's County, but for the longest time we were in up until maybe 8-9 years ago. We were in the district. So
interesting.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So interesting. So I went to, starting in DCPS, even in private schools, DCPS, I didn't see white kids until I was 12. Like in school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't see white kids in schools until I was about 12 in the 6th grade.
And see, mine was the complete opposite. I was one, or sometimes the only little Black girl in the class. And, the whole, I had my hair in beads and cornrows and being gawked at and everything. And I knew I didn't like that at a young age. And the first time I ever had to check a white person was in 1st grade because he said something negative about Martin Luther King. And from the family that I came from, my granny being involved in the civil rights movement and everything, that was like blasphemy. So 6-year-old Star was like, honey. No. What you not finna do? And I'm sure that was not the terminology. I don't remember all the details, but I remember raising my hand and I know I said something like, no, we don't do that around these parts. But yeah, it was, this is why I'm a big proponent of the cultural aspects of learning, include, not erasing Black children.
Wait. Hold on. Hold that thought. Seiko. When you were in elementary, what kind of school were you in? Where were you and what kind of school were you in?
That's interesting because I did start off in a church preschool because my father's a minister. And so in Brooklyn, New York, at Nazarene Congregational Church, we had a preschool experience. And then I went to Maria Montessori. And my Montessori experience, there was a lot of people from different backgrounds in Brooklyn, New York at that time in the Maria Montessori school. So I had a really interesting experience. Now, Aaron Jacob, one of the fly folk who tapped in, said that the jails and the schools teach the same thing. I thought that was interesting.
I saw that.
I want to see one girl who said she went to school in Michigan again, and they learned the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shut your mouth and do what you're told.
The Pledge of Allegiance. You know what? I do remember now that I learned the Pledge of Allegiance, and I was told how to have reverence to the American flag.
And how old were you?
Yeah. So this is preschool, elementary school, first grade. I left Brooklyn when I was in the third grade. So from PK all the way up. And that was my experience. And now when I think about it, like Aaron said, wow, schools and jail did teach very similar things. Well, I've never been to jail. I don't know. I'll take his word.
The Pledge of Allegiance.
That part.
Eddie, sorry, how old were y'all when y'all started doing Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh man,
I had to be like first grade because it was second grade because I was in private school until second grade, and so it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal, but once my first time in
religious school.
Yeah, it was a kind of sorta.
Because I know there's a Bible Pledge of Allegiance as well.
Mm-hmm. So my first, the religious school, I didn't do it at Metropolitan Kitty College, but in formal, like kindergarten, first grade, I went to a school called Nanny Helen Burroughs. And if you Google her, she was an educator here in DC that opened a school for, so Google her, this is, the school's no longer open, but what happened is that, here I'm a child of the barter system because my father was an accountant. And so folks that really couldn't afford to pay him paid them in their services. And so Nanny Helen Burroughs was a school. And so guess what? I went to private school because he was their accountant.
That's what I'm talking about.
Just like I got my braces because I had braces. Lucky you remember that because I had braces in college. Why? Because my orthodontist was one of my father's clients.
Sorry, in Alabama, did y'all do the pledge?
Yeah, I think they do that everywhere. We did.
I think it's pretty nationwide. I consider it indoctrination. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but when you teach a 4, 5, 6-year-old who can't even understand what the word allegiance is, and you're telling them to pledge, right? So I promise to defend and protect the United States. The United States gives liberty and justice for all. And so that's part of the foundation of our educational system. And so when you try to talk about America as a racist nation, especially when you're talking to white people, what do you get back?
And I guess being an educator, I guess it's hard to kind of grasp that because I don't really subscribe to any of that because I'm not pledging anything to a nation that doesn't pledge anything to me. I can't be loyal to somebody who's not loyal to me.
I find it interesting. At a young age, I found that to be problematic, and as the older I got, it was more severe, because to say you're gonna pledge allegiance to something, people don't even play, and it's definitely indoctrination, because I don't see people pledging allegiance to their mom, their dad, their children, their spouse, like the people who matter to you the most and you would die for. You don't say, I pledge allegiance to my children. And I'm like, that's really serious to say that. The whole liberty and justice for all is a lie. Mm-hmm. And then, for people who are of the Christian faith, I'm like, isn't that idolatry? Because you're pledging allegiance to a flag, to an inanimate object. So it's just real problematic, but that's what brainwashing is. That's what indoctrination is, when you don't critically think about what you're doing. You just do it because society says that's what you're supposed to do. And if you fall out of the ranks, then, you'll be ostracized, or there's something wrong with you, or it's just so embedded, you don't analyze it. Mm-hmm. So they started at a young age. They start the worker class and the worker bees and all of that. They're preparing all of that at a young age.
Absolutely are. And it's interesting that, the system is set up for that. The prison complex is absolutely set up for that. And, when they've stopped, first of all, my issue is they've stopped teaching critical thinking skills across the board, especially for young African Americans or people of color. They don't want you to think critically. They want you.
They don't want anybody to think critically.
And I think my issue now, especially when we talk about the day schools can't teach us. Yeah. Having taught in urban settings for 20 plus years, my problem is and will always continue to be that we don't have enough of us in those settings. And so when you can't send Becky, and I found myself more often than not hemming up colleagues about how they talk to our young black boys or our young black girls. Like I've become the defender of, you're not going to talk to him like that. Becky, sit down. Like, sweetie, or like I'll just come through and swoop a kid like, oh, I got this. And just go and say to him, baby, don't do that. Son, don't do that. Or come sit by me, or, come in and intervene, because I'm like, they don't know how to talk to our kids. And that's real. They don't know how to talk to our kids. And on a very real level, they don't know how to talk to us. Okay, they don't know how to talk to us. And I'm launching in 2020 is going to be the launch of my consulting, because every system says, oh, we want black male educators, blah blah blah. Well, you don't really want black male educators, because you're not ready for that black boy magic.
They want y'all for enforcement.
They want us for enforcement, and they want the physical. You're right. They want us for enforcement, because what they want is a black man that will teach like a black woman or a white woman. And they want to be, because what you can't do is script. And part of the reason that I'm transitioning out of secondary education into the collegiate level is because I've had enough of people trying to script my interactions with my kids. Because I can go in and control a whole building, never raise my voice, and, get what I need out of them. And while other people are screaming and hollering and crying, come here, sit down right here, and this is what you're going to do. I don't negotiate with kids.
All of that. And as somebody who has worked with our children for over 20 years as well, not in the public school setting, but in, various organizations and agencies, exactly what you said. They don't know how to talk to our children. I'm going to tell you what, as a black woman, they didn't like the way that I interact with our children either. They definitely didn't, because like you said, I'm going to intervene. I'm real calm, woosah, but the minute you start bothering black children, that's a whole nother side. And I know how to do that professionally, but they knew you're not going to do that. You're not going to, because I will tell you straight up, that's not what you're going to do. I've had people to try to suspend our babies from the facility. And I'm like, you're not going to do that. Like I'm telling the top person, No, you're not going to suspend Darius. He's 6 years old. He needs to be here. We can sit, you and I can sit and we can talk about this. We can decide what the adequate, what we feel could be done about this. But what you're not going to do is deny him the privilege to come here when I know what he's dealing with at home and why he needs to be here. They don't know how, and I've had situations where people have actually, I wasn't there, and they called the cops on our boys, and it wasn't even a fight. Like, I go back and look at the camera, and it's not even a fight. And I'm like, these same two children, if I just would have given them the black mama look, Isaiah,
so if you think about,
then they're gonna stop. They're gonna go in the respective corners. I'm gonna have them, dap each other up, and then we're moving forward from that. But this chick called the cops, and that's why she got a 7-page grievance letter from me.
So if you think about, what do you hear from the police when there's a shooting? What do they say? What's the justification for the reason they had to shoot first and ask no questions at all?
So what we hear is they perceived a threat.
They perceived a threat. And so when we have young black men who research has shown across the board that they are treated as older than they are, same with young black ladies, treated as older than they are. And insubordination is one of the number one disciplinary measures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the goal of education in our school system?
To make workers and drones.
But not only to make workers and drones, but to maintain the status quo.
Absolutely.
And this status quo is what started all the way back when we were still working for free.
I'm sorry, I was reading the comment. I was reading that comment.
That comment was nice. Comment was nice. I want to shout out Sarah Poole. This sister is always on point, and her point about fear for life. Yep. Police officers talk about they feared for their life.
Yes.
And so they had, since I feared for my life, I'm able to take your life.
And it's the same thing in our schools. The teachers see any type of typical behavior. This is typical child behavior. Our kids aren't doing anything different than any other kids are doing.
Okay, let me tell you what's funny about that. I find that little Becky and Steve are actually worse.
Wilding out.
Worse. And you know what? It is interesting to me that if I have a choice to have to deal with them, I don't want to be bothered with them. Because you know what? I promise you, Malik and Tanisha, I can look at them and be like, what? Excuse me. What you're not going to do? And they will calm it down, turn it down. Real talk. But Becky and little Matthew want to give you pushback, but my mommy, I don't give a damn about your mom. With a straight face. With a straight face.
I think too, part of what we're hearing is how important the family dynamics are with what educators deal with, because what y'all came into the system with is very different than what a lot of other kids come into the system with.
I learned that.
Across the spectrum.
So one of the things that helped me survive in middle school for at least 10, 15 years was once I realized that they weren't coming with a whole set of core values that I came with. There's a whole, and we talk about home training. They just didn't come with home training. They don't have it. Like the day I said in band rehearsal, I was like, so you little Negroes are going to just talk while I'm talking? I said, ain't nobody ever told you that it's rude to talk while somebody else is talking? And they looked at me like deer in headlights. Mind you, my son was in that class and was looking like, oh shit, he's about to lose. He was looking like, oh shit, here we go. I was like, and once they looked at me, and then I was like, oh my God, you all don't know that. I said, you know what? And I backed up. I was like, you know what? Let me apologize. Because I'm holding you accountable for something that, guess what? You've never been taught. And I'm sorry. So here's our teachable moment. it is rude and it's disrespectful for you to talk while an adult or whoever is talking, whoever the teacher is, you know what? You want to be heard. When you talk, you want to be heard. So in that same manner, I want to be heard when I'm instructing you. So here it is. So I'm going to hold you accountable. Done. So from this point forward, here we go. You don't talk while I'm talking. And so anything that had to do with like home behavior, you know what I'm saying? Straight up, I was just like, you know what? Let me teach and model this for you first, because guess what? You might not be getting this at home. If nobody ever told you at home that this is wrong or this is right or, you know, this is what it is, guess what? I'm telling you now, and I'm going to hold you accountable from henceforth and forevermore. Amen.
So this is the heart of education, right? What you just said was nobody ever taught them, but they've been told to be quiet, right? That's not the same as teaching. That's not the same as teaching. And so you taught them what they've been hearing all their life, but they understood why. And so that's what teaching is. That's what real education is when you not only give instruction, but you give understanding and you give practice and support. So that's how education is supposed to work.
Ain't that it?
Wow.
That's not how it works.
You just brought up a really interesting point. I had the same conversation with a colleague. I work in a high school. It's an urban setting. It can be very challenging. And what Eddie mentioned earlier is the same experience that I have, where I can handle a situation easily with a look, with a couple of words, or just standing firm on my square, where my colleagues don't have the same impact. But I do realize that many of them, like I had a student who said something and I said, that's inappropriate. The student said, what? I said, that's inappropriate. That's inappropriate in the school. You can do that at home. It looks like your family allows you to do that, but that's inappropriate in a school setting because it destroys the learning environment. You're harming other students because you're disrupting. And the student said, oh, and that was it. But another teacher had written that student up and wanted them to get suspended for the very same behavior. So you're right. It's different there's a big difference rather in telling somebody something and teaching somebody something.
Exactly. You have to reteach. There's some things that, again, we got to stop making the assumption that everybody comes with the same set of home training and they just don't have it. And you know what? You can't just pound them in the head about it. No, just teach them. Just teach them. Straight up.
Everything's a teachable moment.
Everything is a teachable moment, especially if they don't know it. Like, they don't understand. It's as simple as, let me tell you why we can be functional. We're so functional in settings. Because you know what? You see a kid come in the door, you can tell on their face, come here, son, what's wrong? Did you eat breakfast today? What happened? You're like, you know your kids. You know your kids.
You do.
And so you know, okay, you know what? Did you not, is your homework done? You didn't do your homework, what's wrong? Did you eat breakfast? Come here. While you sitting there combing heads and, fix your clothes, you tuck your shirt in, and making sure you greasing faces up. Like, literally, it's like you just came to work to, like, literally take care of your new set of kids at work. Do the same thing that you would do for your kids before they left out of the house. Well, here you are coming through the metal detectors. Come here, come talk to me. Like, I had some of the hardest kids in the school come and they can't start their day until they get a hug. All right, come on. You good? Do I need to check on you today? How many times I got to check on you? Nothing? Okay. Well, if you going to have a meltdown, if you feel like you're about to have a meltdown anywhere in the building, come see me. Get a pass. Come.
Oh, but other teachers will get upset with you for that.
Fuck them.
Oh, no, I'm not saying they're rightfully so. I'm saying that there is such a power grab that it's my way or the highway. And so I think that's one of the big problems. I have another thought though. So if our kids are being over suspended and over disciplined, why aren't we getting more pushback from the parents?
You know what's interesting? I'll say this from an administrative side. Like, I was the king of sending kids home, for real, because I was like, you know what? We teach children in this building, and if you're going to bring in the building, you're going to be in a child's place. Now, for real, and it wasn't this, oh no, it was real simple. I was like, okay, so you're going to follow the rules or you're going home. It's real simple. Like it wasn't about being an asshole. It was about, okay, so I'm gonna protect the learning environment for the rest of these kids. You're not gonna do that up in here. And guess what? You know, did I put it on paper? No, but it was like, so it was like, we're gonna talk about this and you'll be back in 3 days. Thank you though. Thank you. And be done. And like when parents would come and be like, what you not? I had a parent, her son told, now we're in an urban setting. It's like there were like maybe three white kids in the school. This kid decides that he's going to tell, he's about 5'3", and he decides that he's going to tell this 6'2" woman that he's going to fuck her up. And I looked, and she just waved, she just motions like, come get him. And I was like, come on, little boy. And so then he told me he was going to fuck me up too. And I was like, little boy. I was like, yo, for real, just stop talking, because you finna go home. And so when I actually, you know, when the mother finally got there and I was to explain to her what happened, she goes off, and I said, if you put your hands on any staff member in the building, it's a wrap. And she was like, it's a wrap. That's unprofessional. And what? I said, and I looked at her, I said, wait. I said, first, I need you to understand that you smell like liquor at 11 o'clock in the morning. Number one. Number two, if you would like my professional language, here it is. I said, first of all, because you're not privy to it. Once you say the word fuck to me in a professional setting, you're not really privy to the professional language. You don't deserve the professional language that my parents paid for me to have. So here it is. Professional language paid for me to have.
Eddie, hold on though, because you're coming from the righteous educator perspective, because you know you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah. But in real life, we know that there are all types of educators who are bullying kids, calling kids out their name, treating them like garbage. Where are the parents? I want your thoughts on where those parents are for those teachers and for those education systems.
You know what? If I can jump in before you talk, Eddie, I just want to note that we have 3 Hamptonians in the room. Yeah. Tell you. Sorry, Star. We love you anyway. Carry on with Hamptonian.
We do love you, though. We do. Even though our band just went to Rome. No shade. But that, seriously. So you're asking where the parents? Good question. I find in those settings that those parents are on some. I feel like some parents didn't have a good experience in school.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
Okay, they didn't have a good experience in school, and so therefore they're looking like they don't come. And they come for the wrong stuff. That's probably one of the most frustrating things. Like, I had a woman come to me because we tried to get her for a year to come and see about her 2 boys because they needed services. Clearly, okay, so here's the scenarios real quick. She had 2 boys in the 7th grade. Neither one of them was in the right grade. One should have been in the 8th, one should have been in the 9th. The would-be 8th grader read on a kindergarten level. The would-be 9th grader read on a 3rd grade level. Right, you're right. But we couldn't get her to come from across the street to sign paperwork so we could try to get them some services. We tried for a year. And so here we are. One of them, I had both of them in a class. One of them decided they wanted to curse me out one day, and I was like, and so on his way out the door, I said, real simple. I said, you know what? That's why your mother should have swallowed you. And yes, I did say.
You know what? That is not professional.
No,
that is not professional.
Hold on. But I didn't say it to him. I said, I was talking to myself. I was just like, oh, God, that's why his mama should have swallowed him. Somebody heard it. One of the kids heard it and told him. So he goes home and tells his mother. This is on a Thursday. So now, on Friday, during a pep rally, I just happened to walk through the office, and here she is going off. She thought it was some other teacher. She thought it was his English teacher talking about, and that motherfucking that bitch, that faggot ass bitch, blah, 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 blah. And she's going off about what had been said. And I just happened to walk in the office. Look at God. Look at God.
Innocent victim.
And guess what? No, guess what? I was like, I said, no, ma'am. I said, no, I said it. I told her, I said, no, ma'am, I said it. I said, but if you're not, I said, but before you go any further, if you're not here to sign paper, I addressed the situation. I told her the same thing. I said, so you have these two boys that are in desperate need of services. I said, and we've been trying to get you in this building for at least a year to address that. I said, so if you're telling me that we can't do that to get you come across the street from your apartment that we can see right there, I said, no, ma'am. I said, I will not discuss this foolishness with you. I said, because then, in fact, what I said was true. You should have used some kind of birth control. You should have swallowed them twice. I said, because you came to address some bullshit, but you didn't come to see what we could do to get your kids even close to reading level.
I think it kind of goes back to what we said earlier. We said that telling somebody something and teaching somebody
not the same as teaching them.
Are not the same.
No, they work on
parents will show up.
You thought. Hold on, because y'all are talking about, so this is what I hear about parents all the time, though. I hear about the parents who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Star, you work with families in the community. What are you hearing from your parents?
Okay, so I can talk now. I feel like that, to touch on what you said, Eddie, and I'm not making excuses for it because I've dealt with some very egregious things. Like I remember, we went through a lot of work to put on a summer camp for children, and it was like $10 that they had to pay for like a full out everything summer camp, from enrichment, academics, fun things and everything. And I remember one mom being like, I'm not getting ready to pay that. She's like, why should I have to pay that? I'm not going to pay them no $10 or whatever. But her daughter was dressed better than me. Her clothes were more expensive than mine. And, they lived in, a community that kind of didn't match where where they were putting the money. And I guess, I've dealt with a lot of frustrations with parents and everything, but nonetheless, like with what you were saying, not to make excuses, but I feel like possibly that mom feels prepared with her words, that she knows how to curse somebody out. She's equipped to give it to you that way. She is not equipped to deal with the education that your parents paid for, and to have that conversation back and forth with you. Perhaps they just, I think that's something, and trying to crack that, is a big thing. It's like there needs to be systemically, our communities suffer from a lot of things, because then what you're talking about is like generational poverty. And I've had same situations where you guys know where Roberts Park used to be in Norfolk, and then Roberts Park Elementary was adjacent to it, and children who were in my after school program many moons ago, and they would come to school at 10 a.m. School started at like 8 o'clock in the morning. They're coming to school at 10 o'clock in the morning because mom didn't get them up and make sure that they had to, just walk across the street. Like literally, like you said, who the hell is right there? So I think there are feelings of inadequacy, trauma, different things that have not been things that have not been diagnosed. And so I even noticed, where a pattern where this may, start. I always tell our children, your voice is worthy of being heard, sweetie. Your voice is worthy of being heard, because I will see at a young age where our children will not want to speak up. When I have a group and I'm asking them questions, they don't want to answer, or they answer it kind of low and Well, we're not going to do that around here. And that's not how I phrase that to them, but that's my philosophy, because you're going to leave under my tutelage and my love, because I'm always like, yo, this is a game. Besides the fact that I'm teaching you, it's a love game, right? And you can't get out of it. Like you gonna get this love. You understand this, you little brown babies? Okay, you gonna get this love. And so you're going to, I get them. If they were timid, I guarantee you by the time they leave me, they're not that. They're not, even if I get you from, you were at a 0 and I get you to a 1.5, some might be at a 1 and I get them to an 8, but you're going to come up in that time frame. And so you already see them not feeling comfortable with expressing themselves. So if nothing channels that and builds that self-esteem, if nothing intervenes along the way, and like we said, these other colleagues that we have that just shun them, push them off to the side, all of these things in the school system, the policing system, now they grow up to be the parent that doesn't feel comfortable, that doesn't feel equipped, that's not going to be able, that doesn't feel like I can come in there and have this conversation with you about my children, because I just barely made it out of school myself. And this is, school are intimidating.
But you know what? And you're right. So when we talk about those teachable moments, they're teachable moments for everybody. Because what I find, and I get that. And so the first thing we need to impart.
But I'm not blaming you. I want to say that because, I understand the frustration. So please understand that I was not putting anything on you. Just talking about the totality of this, the enormity of it.
Because in general, you know what? I think that's what's really important. I think, again, we always take the teachable moment. I know I try to, and let people know, look, we're on the same team because ultimately we want the same goal, which is for, and one of the reasons that I still live in the District of Columbia and have not moved back into the county, to Prince George's County, is the fact that I live in Ward 7. Ward 7 and 8 are the most underserved populations in the city of Washington, D.C., educationally. And so even though, I can't deal with the systemic anymore, but I won't leave the city because somebody has to advocate for our babies. The same kids that I still keep in contact with, and I track my kids all the way through high school. And, I advocate for them. What do you need? What do you have? Do you need such and such? Yeah, I might go out and teach little white girls in Montgomery County, but still, I'm concerned about my brown children over here in Southeast, east of the river, because they don't have anybody to advocate for them. And I'm not saying that their parents don't want the best for them, but a lot of the parents, like you said, a lot of the parents just don't know how to advocate.
They don't know. I have three things. So we've talked about the fact that, number one, we're not being educated to actually think critically, to engage with anything. We have a system that tells that our parents came from. So the black parents that we're dealing with now were the black students of yesteryear, right? And somehow their education got mixed. I want to touch a little bit on whether you got any education about who you are as a black person in America. But then I want to go into how do we change this educational environment to where our kids and our community is actually getting educated and getting what they need?
Okay, well, I can tell you that my parents and the environment that they raised me in believe that the community and the family had the responsibility to provide me with the information about, quote unquote, my blackness. So I went to freedom schools. I went to Uhuru Nikazi. I went to a couple of other freedom schools. I went to church programs. I went to community programs, fraternity programs. They felt that it was the community's responsibility for me to understand who I am as a person of African descent in the United States of America. They didn't think that it was school. Actually, they never believed that the schools would do anything.
Did they?
Yeah.
So that's my question. Did you have any public education experiences where schools did really equip you to be a Black American man?
Not until I got to Hampton. But in secondary education, elementary and secondary education, no. Because, and I never really missed it because I got it at home. I had 2 HBCU grads that were Divine Nine. We went to a black church. My grandfather was a black pastor in a black church. And anywhere and everywhere I went, I got it. Like it wasn't like, oh, it was missing. So then it taught me, once I got around white people in sixth grade 6 to 12, you know, I began to question, you know, well, why is this missing? Why, you know, and so I knew to question, like, wait, I hear what you're saying, but what is this revisionist history that you're giving me?
Where's the rest of the story?
Right, you're leaving some parts out. I need you to come back and put those back in. Thank you.
Where's the beef?
Yeah. What about you, Star? Did you get any culturally relevant education?
I did not get that in school. I got it at home. Like I said, Granny Ruth had me reading at 3. So I was reading books about our history and culture. I also was witnessing things that she and her peers were doing for the community, and things that I saw happen and things that I heard them discuss. But it definitely happened at home. It did not happen at school. And one thing that, you know, really is interesting to me, and it even bothered me when I was in high school, they had a class called Ethnic Studies. And I think that encompassed like Black history. I think I did not get to take it, and I was very upset about that because it was not a part of the Advanced Studies diploma track. So it was like an elective, and the way that it worked was just it wouldn't have fit for me getting an Advanced Studies diploma. And so that was the only class like that, and it was the Black teacher who everybody liked, and I didn't get to have that. I did have one class in high school that was an advanced class that had 2 Black women in there, and it was like a history and English class combined, and they did throw some of that in there, but for the most part it was the same old same, you know, the couple of people that we learned about periodically. And I think, you know, more advocacy around curriculum needs to happen. I feel like we're probably towards next year, and I know we just started this year, but our organization, Clever Communities in Action, we're looking at pivoting more towards advocacy and changing, you know, like pushing what the curriculum is. I heard that recently you guys in Virginia Beach, the HRBC had something to do with creating an African American Studies elective for Virginia Beach high schools. And that was a step. But, you know, again.
Oh.
Star!
Did we lose her again? Oh, she's coming back, I think.
Come back, Star.
But watch it. So what she's talking about, this is what I see. I see college education classes. I see high school elective. Why is our history, which is American history, optional?
Because systemically, the system isn't set up for that.
Right. And so all 4 of us on this broadcast, all 4 of us are the product of freedom fighters. We are the products of pro-Black, fully aware African-American citizens. What about the rest of the African-American citizenry who didn't get that? The ones who did not become educated after slavery, and they continued to be uneducated through the years. They went to public schools that were not intended to teach them about themselves, their history, or how to be empowered. How do we change the system to truly educate all of our people?
You know,
what do we need to do?
And I dare say this, but I feel like we need to take the same type of mindset that happened with primary and secondary education. We need to take that same mindset from HBCUs and literally open our own damn schools to educate our kids. And, you know, people say that, I'm like, nah. If you're a teacher calling people.
Don't read it. Don't read it.
I was about to say it's a setup. It's a setup.
So anyway, I feel like that definitely with what you're saying, Eddie, it's gotta start outside of, because the thing that helped us to be like we're all saying was a strong foundation at home. In a way, it wasn't within the school system. The school system should reinforce, but again, I'm gonna go back to the Black church. Because again, I say the church and then the fraternities and the sororities are the things that get the most Black people in mass consistently. Yep. So I feel like the church should be an epicenter of teaching our culture. The programs that the fraternities and sororities have that work with our youth should, matter of fact, anybody. And I'm gonna tell you, I get real frustrated when people have programs, and I mean Black people, and they're working with our youth, but it doesn't do anything from a cultural perspective, a historic perspective, that you're not adding that in there, sprinkling that in there, and making that I at least need you to sprinkle it, like E40 or whatever. Like, who was that? I need you to sprinkle me, man. You need to do a little bit, at least that. But it should be the foundation. To me, it should be the crux of it, okay? And so I get really, really frustrated when we start talking about all of these different things, because it's detrimental to us. See, when you know the truth, that's when you are empowered to speak up when something doesn't look right, when it doesn't feel right, when they're telling you something. That's why when I was 6, I felt comfortable being like, nah, bruh, because I knew, and I was very confident in that. I knew when you're not confident in who you are, it could even feel right, but you don't necessarily, it could feel wrong, but you don't necessarily know what the truth is. So then you'll cower back and be quiet. I think it needs to be in the community more. As far as the school, I think I went out some kind of way a minute ago, but I was saying like more advocacy. Towards like we're looking at with nonprofit we're looking at with our nonprofit, not this year but next year, really starting to make a pivot towards more advocacy about what's in the curriculum, what kind of books are in the library, what's being taught in the curriculum, and really forcing that, and then this comes back to politics and who gets elected and agendas that Black people need to have, and what we are expecting of people who are on school boards, city councils, and different things of the sort.
Well, you know what? You're right, because I'm actually looking. One of the things that I want to do here in DC is literally, I want to, I was trying to run for the school board, but unfortunately, Mayor Bowser appoints. You have to be appointed. And so, yes, I'm having to politic to kiss her behind to try to get on the school board, because I feel like we need to start writing the curriculum. Real talk.
I agree.
Yeah, we need to start writing the curriculum.
You know what? I ran for the school board here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And one of the things that I learned is, thank you, Star. And I'm not going to say what Star said. Look, Eddie, you get a kick out of this. You get a kick out of this. All right, so Star was speaking on my behalf in front of the school board as they were trying to determine who they were going to appoint for a particular position that was open, that I was, jockeying for. And she gave a raving speech about how great I was, and then said he's able to multitask. He's able to do a lot of great things for the community at once. He's an honorary woman.
I mean, you had to be there. But like, really, because I mean, we women, we're the queens of multitasking. And I'm going to say that brother right there, like he is juggling a whole lot of things at one time and not even sweating. So I was like, hey, give him the badge.
When I tell you,
this take us work.
My point was, one of the things that I've learned is I've actually had more influence on some of the things that happen on the school board, not being on the school board.
Being an advocate.
Eddie, I definitely hope you run. I hope you're appointed, rather. And I hope we need you up there. But my point is, also put a knife to the neck, is what I used to say. Put a knife to the neck of those people who are on the school board and say, hey, look.
Seiko, tell us more about that. Like, how are you influencing more off than on? Because that's something we need to know.
Because you know what? Because once you're as a part of the school board, you end up being kind of bound by the limitations or the restrictions of
cog in the wheel.
Exactly, a cog in the wheel. But I promise you, outside of the school board, I get it. Make the noise.
Because when you're you're beholden to these people, these various groups that got you, in there. And if you're outside, you can push your, thing. When you have, Mothers Against Drunk Drive, they'll go hard about their particular interest. People, when you're out of it, you're pushing your agenda. When you're the one on there, then you gotta, look at everything and be more, diplomatic.
You can't go as hard as you want to go.
About these black children, Okay,
so
that's what I learned. It's not the agent, it's the agenda. It's not the agent, not the person, it's the agenda. So, Ed, I would say push the agenda.
Oh, absolutely. Because
even if you're not on board.
Because let me tell you, I'm asking the question on a regular basis. Why is it okay for you to not properly staff schools east of the river and not treat them the same way that you would Northwest DC? And I've seen that firsthand. So if a teacher goes out, here's the problem. East of the river in Ward 7 and 8, you will send Becky and Matt and Peter over here and send them over here to schools to basically it's a war zone. Okay, it's a war zone. And so they're not prepared to get cussed at or to be physically or verbally assaulted 182 days of school. They're not. And so, the first time they say, oh, little Johnny, Malik, I need you to sit down. And Malik says, fuck you. They ain't ready for that. And that happens for a week. And so guess what? They be like, okay, this ain't worth you paying off my student loans. And they're going to leave.
It's stressful. And I mean, teaching is stressful without that. But when you're not equipped to deal with children, then it's even worse. Hold on, because we only got a few more minutes. Yeah. So I want to wrap up. Oh, yes. Kids with special needs. That's a whole nother show. And how they're doing our babies who need special education and aren't getting it. But whole nother show. I want to end with, because what y'all talked about was making sure our kids are educated about our history. But my contention is that all of America needs to be educated about America's entire history, because a large part of the reason that we're still in the same place that we've been fighting most of the same battles is because only certain people are getting the information accurately. And so we get this pushback, oh, slavery wasn't that bad because I learned about it in school. And I mean, they're not saying this consciously, but in real life, what happened was they learned about slavery as like immigrants coming over to America to work the land for a better life. That is a real life story. That is what they are teaching.
Right. How about the forced migration?
Right. Forced migration. The slaves were better off working on plantations than they would have been otherwise. All types of ridiculous foolishness. Like we didn't have our own empires, kingdoms, education, schools in Africa. But okay. We were educated when we were kidnapped. But okay. So, how do we not only educate our kids, but all kids with the truth?
How about it?
Okay, I can say this. One of the ways that we can make sure that everyone learns the truth is by those of us who know the truth sharing the truth, coming up to the schools, being involved at the school board meetings. Involvement is the key. Involvement is the key. Involvement is the key. And we need to have our own. One of the sisters mentioned that we need to have our own, basically. Shay, you said that. I went to freedom schools when I was coming up. So we had our own. We went to a regular school, and then on weekends, for a little bit of 3 or 4 hours. We went to a freedom school, and at that freedom school, we studied African history. We studied the history of the Africans who were here in the United States of America, or in North America prior to the Pilgrims' arrival. Using that book, what was it? They Came Before Columbus. So for all my people who consider themselves Aborigines, we salute that. We know about Turtle Island. I learned about all that stuff, and this is when I was in middle school. So all of us didn't come here through the enslavement process. A lot of us were here early. We're good with that. So, Negus, you can back off and stop leaving those comments, although we love you, brother. All right. So, my point is, our involvement will make the difference. Our involvement will make the difference.
Eddie, what you got?
No, you're absolutely right. We've gotta be involved, and we've gotta be present. And I think that's part of our problem, just as a whole, is our lack of presence. And so if we're not demanding these things, again, here in DC, like demanding that you equally staff these schools, like you make sure that every child in the district or in any system is privy to the same things. Like real talk, like, why if it's good enough for the folk on the other side of the city, it's good enough for the east of the river folks. Like, it's not, I don't feel like you make sure that everybody has the same resources. And it's not like we don't have the money here in the district. You have it. But again, we've got to be present. We've got to advocate for those things that we want, that we think that our children deserve.
Star, what do you think?
So again, when you say advocacy, when I say advocacy about, the curriculum, that means all curriculum and, all schools, changing that, making it reflect reality, not the, 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue and the, Pilgrims and the Indians and the nice little hand turkeys that children are making, in November. So that means all around, advocacy. And also, I'm thinking like, who is it? Scholastic? What are all those, the people who do
Scholastic,
the everything?
McGraw-Hill.
Yeah, they need to be hit up. Their pressure needs to be applied on those entities as well. Yeah. Or, I had a conversation about this, like, are there any textbooks already written with the real history in there where we can, with this advocacy already, like, start pushing, then you need to integrate this, or you need to start changing from these books, these books, this curriculum that you have into this one. But it's just going to take, like we've all said, involvement, advocacy, and
so finding out too, industry. Who's in charge? Finding out who's in charge, because as community members, as citizens, we have access to finding out who it is that makes the decisions on adopting curriculum. So we can make that a priority as a community. Who is adopting the curriculum? Educating parents about knowing what their rights are in the schools, because a lot of times they're being bullied by the schools. So they might be trying to advocate for their kids and they're being shut down.
Yeah, you're right. I can't even argue.
You're right.
I can't argue.
But
they don't know any better, and they don't have the time, they don't have the resources, they don't have the information they need.
And again, when you meet with parents, when I interact with our parents, it's a whole nother level, because it's like you're interacting with family, like, yo, so I need you to do this, and I have those interactions like, yo, so I need you to go downtown, and I need you to ask for this, and for this. Like, and don't take no for an answer. No, get back on them, and if they push back, because they're going to do what you want. And and you tell them, like, I can't say, like, you tell them as a teacher, I can't say this, I can't ask for these things, but you as a parent can ask for these.
Yeah.
So,
teaching our parents how much power they have.
Yeah, tell them, okay, so we need to ask them for the purple books in the back. They have them. Don't let them tell you they don't. And if they tell you they don't have them, ask them for that. And then ask them for the blue books over there because they have them and they're accessible and they have to give them to you.
So, and I've had with some parents to put, I inform them a lot of times to email things, to put it in writing so that you have a trail.
Yes.
And assisting them basically in putting the body of it together.
Mm-hmm. And parents have gotten in trouble for recording, having stuff recorded at school. They have sued parents for stuff like that. So you have to be aware of like what the system is doing too. But yeah, paper trails.
So I want to answer that question that somebody just asked. What about homeschool?
Please answer it, because if you don't, I will. We don't have time to answer it, but I want to, because homeschool is my heart.
Well, what about homeschool? Well, homeschool is great if the parent is equipped to do it. But if they struggle to get out of school, I get it. But you know what?
Let me tell you something. Well, at least in Hampton Roads, we have enough resources that even for the parents who don't have the background, they're still going to do a better job than the school system with the resources we have. The trouble comes when you have areas that don't have homeschool resources. And the other trouble is homeschool is still a class thing. Like, we just put my kid in public school for the first time because our budget demands it. We can't afford anything else at the moment.
And so I get you. You know what? Because I promise you, as an administrator, I've actually offered some folks the homeschool packet.
They're scared.
Because we'll give it to you. Like, for real, if you think that we're not giving your child what they need, honest to God, I would dare say, before you keep saying, hey,
So while talk to me about homeschooling, we'll talk. I'll find you. We'll talk. Because I love homeschool, and we'll talk about how if it's possible. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Homeschool advocate.
What's your handle again? I want to make sure.
So y'all can find me all over the internet at 360 Citizens, 360 Citizens. We used to be Families for His Glory, but we're working on making sure everybody really does get liberty and justice for all through education. And so now we're at 360 Citizens.
Good stuff.
So I know this might sound real crazy, and it's a stretch, but you can find me at Negro _ C major E flat 7. For my musicians will get that one.
I'm gonna need you to hold up a sign or something.
I really meant to put it. Can I throw it in the live comment?
I don't know. Try it. Try and put it in there.
Okay, Crumb was trying. Uppity Negro, yes, it's C major, C MAJ, E flat 7. That's half of it. The Uppity Negro is right.
Just find the Uppity Negro online with the music. The Uppity Negro with the music.
You definitely are an Uppity Negro. Hey, if you type it in the comment, I'll make sure that it gets tagged into the video.
Okay.
Yeah. And Star, if you can also do the same. I know I have my handle. I'm Seiko Varner at Seiko Varner. We have Shay at 360 Citizens. I love the way that sounds. Wow. Star, go ahead and throw your stuff in there, and I'll make sure that Crumb gets us to post it. So Nina Simone, my mom had a home child care. A teacher called my brother a moron, and my mom took all of us out of the school, and she homeschooled us all 5 through elementary school.
And so that's what parents used to be able to do. Parents used to feel equipped to take charge of their education. They wouldn't take the school saying that their kid couldn't learn. They wouldn't take the school saying that your kid can't receive these services. But now a lot of these parents, they don't know enough, and they feel stuck because they got to work and they got to pay bills. So we need to start figuring out how to provide solutions. That's okay, Michael. You can watch it later. Huh?
How did you do it, Shay?
How did we homeschool all the way up till now? Okay, so it was a series of happy circumstances that involved inheriting money, honestly. And that's where a lot of white wealth comes from, inherited money. And so what I'm teaching my students now, right now I'm teaching GED. And so what I'm teaching my students now in my GED class is make sure you get a job that allows you to have more than what you need to live on. Or build a business that allows you to have more than what you need to live on, because it's economic security that gives you the option to do things like homeschooling or bartering. I love that your dad bartered for the services he needed. We need to do more of that. We need to do more of that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that I just went into a season that I made education secondary, and I went back into real estate. So I've done both concurrently, education and real estate concurrently for some years. And so I finally made real estate primary, and I made education the secondary focus, because I want my grandchildren to have a legacy.
Yes. And make sure you protect your investments, because a lot of people will make money, but they don't protect their investments.
Exactly.
And later it gets gone.
Yeah. So
shout out to all my homeschoolers. I see y'all in the comments.
Come on. And you know what? And I'm for it. I'm absolutely for it. Like, if that's what you need to do in order for your children to get the best education, then yeah, absolutely do that. Because, because again, as the topic of tonight, I don't feel like public education is set up for us. It's not.
It's not. It's not even set up for the working white class. So for daggone sure, it's not set up for Black people.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. And again, it's just not set up for us. So it's just
no. They schools can't teach us. I'm not saying we won't learn stuff. But will our students really learn what they need to know in the current public education system?
No.
Okay. Day schools can't teach it.
No. Sidebar. Anybody want a dog?
No. It's like kids that don't leave home. No. I got kids. No.
I'm just asking.
Somebody wants a dog, but it's not me.
Because I promise you, if this chick don't come,
you love your dog. Stop treating her like that.
I do. I love them to pieces. You know what?
Stop treating her like that. That's how I try and give away my kids. That's how I know you love her.
I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's like the
I want to shout out to Jomo Jenkins too, because he stays supporting and representing him. Sirwa. There's one more. All of y'all though. Thank you guys so much for the love and the support.
I'm saying, I was going to let him out that kennel, but she would have been all over here acting a complete fool. And I'm like, you know what? It's like that extra kid, and you can't.
They're like kids.
They are.
They don't go home. They don't leave though. They just get sick, and then you got to pay their vet bills. I'll keep the kids. They gonna leave.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you guys my IG handle. That is *__Armstrong, and our nonprofit Clever Communities in Action is CCIA_ORG. You can also find me on Facebook at Star Armstrong, and have some exciting new things that are about to come out pretty soon. Looking forward to sharing that with everybody. And yeah, shout out to Dead Press. They schools ain't teaching us. Yeah.
Shout out to Crumb for giving us this platform.
Woo! Like where is Crumb?
Yeah.
He's busy handling the comments.
Okay.
He's a little busy tonight. Okay. But hey, look, we had a great topic. We had a great conversation, and I want to thank everybody for participating. Let's give it up for Queen Mother Shay, who took over and did an excellent job.
Thank you, Seiko.
All right, and I need to make a public apology to Queen Star, because when she was hosting, at one point I did kind of take over again, and I apologize. I'm learning. I'm trying to work on it. So Star, you did a great job, and Queen Mother Shay, you did a great job. And hey, shout out to Crumb, and thank you for checking in. Stay fly. Oh, last words. I'm sorry. Actually, Shay, you say this.
Wait, but this is your ending. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. So I guess we're wrapping up with any last words. I will say that my last words are education is the key. And education doesn't mean that your kids it's not what you get in school. Education is what our kids need to know to grow and to thrive.
And with that, go ahead, Eddie.
Star. I was going to defer to Star, but yes, ladies first.
Appreciate it. So school is just an extension of home and community.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You getting your queen? You getting your queen on up there? I heard you.
Right, I heard.
That's my joint, like, for real. But no, like I said, school is supposed to be an extension of home and community. And so it always goes back, like I said, we say it takes a village to raise a child. So let's all make sure that we are active villagers, that we are not villaging from the sideline, or that we're not just using that phrase, like, let's be active villagers. All of these babies are our babies, not just the ones that we gave birth to.
And to piggyback off of that, you're right. We've got to be a part of the global village and make sure and just take care of our babies and give them what they deserve. Because, for 25 years in education, I've got more babies out here in this world that I didn't birth, or I didn't produce. But still, if you take ownership in that manner and make sure, it's important that all of our kids get what they need. And we've got to be willing to stand up and fight for that and advocate for that. And then we're going to make some progress. But I was saying, again, you got to reach the ones that you can and give them everything that you got.
All right, and I'm just going to say, stay fly. All right, so I ended the broadcast. Hey, man, it's still going.
Stay fly.
The views expressed by the guests are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree. Unless explicitly stated.
Stay fly.
Stay conscious. Stay fly. Stay fly.